Welcome back to The Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie. The plot is at its peak, and a mystery is nearly unraveled. With secrets exposed and alliances shifting, every moment counts as we close in on the truth behind the seven dials. But just when the answers seem clear, new questions arise. Get ready as we move even closer to the thrilling conclusion. The final pieces are almost in place. Jimmy Thesiger arrived at Leatherbury on a sunny autumn afternoon and was greeted affectionately by Lady Coote and with cold dislike by Sir Oswald. Aware of the keen matchmaking eye of Lady Coote upon him, Jimmy took pains to make himself extremely agreeable to Sox Daventry. O'Rourke was there in excellent spirits. He was inclined to be official and secretive about the mysterious events at the Abbey, about which Sox catechized him freely, but his official reticence took a novel form, namely that of embroidering the tale of events in such a fantastic manner that nobody could possibly guess what the truth might have been. Four masked men with revolvers? Is that really so? Demanded Sox severely. I'm remembering now that there was the round half-dozen of them to hold me down and force the stuff down my throat. Sure, and I thought it was poison, and I'd done for entirely. And what was stolen? Or what did they try and steal? What else but the crown jewels of Russia that were brought to Mr. Lomax secretly to deposit in the Bank of England? What a bloody liar you are, said Sox without emotion. A liar, I? And the jewels brought over by aeroplane with my best friend as pilot. This is secret history I'm telling you, Sox. Will you ask Jimmy Thesiger there if you don't believe me? Not that I'd be putting any trust in what he'd say. Is it true, said Sox, that George Lomax came down without his false teeth? That's what I want to know. There were 2 revolvers, said Lady Coote. Nasty things. I saw them myself. It's a wonder this poor boy wasn't killed. Oh, I was born to be hanged, said Jimmy. I hear that there was a Russian countess there of subtle beauty, said Sox, and that she vamped Bill. Some of the things she said about Budapest were too dreadful, said Lady Coote. I shall never forget them. Oswald, we must send a subscription. Sir Oswald grunted. I'll make a note of it. Lady Coote, said Rupert Bateman. Thank you, Mr. Bateman. I feel one ought to do something as a thank offering. I can't imagine how Sir Oswald escaped being shot, letting alone die of pneumonia. Don't be foolish, Maria, said Sir Oswald. I've always had a horror of cat burglars, said Lady Coote. Think of having the luck to meet one face to face. How thrilling, murmured Sox. Don't you believe it, said Jimmy. It's damned painful. And he patted his right arm gingerly. How was the poor arm? Inquired Lady Coote. Oh, pretty well all right now. But it's been the most confounded nuisance having to do everything with the left hand. I'm no good whatever with it. Every child should be brought up to be ambidextrous, said Sir Oswald. Oh, said Sox, somewhat out of her depth. Is that like seals? Not amphibious, said Mr. Bateman. Ambidextrous means using either hand equally well. Oh, said Sox, looking at Sir Oswald with respect. Can you? Certainly, I can write with either hand, but not with both at once. That would not be practical, said Sir Oswald shortly. No, said Sox thoughtfully. I suppose that would be a bit too subtle. It would be a grand thing now in a government department, observed Mr. O'Rourke, if one could keep the right hand from knowing what the left hand was doing. Can you use both hands? No, indeed. I'm the most right-handed person that ever was. But you deal cards with your left hand, said the observant Bateman. I noticed the other night. Oh, but that's different entirely, said Mr. O'Rourke easily. A gong with a somber note pealed out, and everyone went upstairs to dress for dinner. After dinner, Sir Oswald and Lady Coote, Mr. Bateman and Mr. O'Rourke played bridge, and Jimmy passed a flirtatious evening with Sox. The last words Jimmy heard as he retreated up the staircase that night were Sir Oswald saying to his wife, "You'll never make a bridge player, Maria." And her reply, "I know, dear. So you always say. You owe Mr. O'Rourke another £1, Oswald." That's right. It was some 2 hours later that Jimmy crept noiselessly, or so he hoped, down the stairs. He made one brief visit to the dining room, and then found his way to Sir Oswald's study. There, after listening intently for a minute or two, he set to work. Most of the drawers of the desk were locked, but a curiously shaped bit of wire in Jimmy's hands soon saw to that. One by one the drawers yielded to his manipulations. Drawer by drawer he sorted through methodically, being careful to replace everything in the same order. Once or twice he stopped to listen, fancying he heard some distant sound. But he remained undisturbed. The last drawer was looked through. Jimmy now knew, or could have known had he been paying attention, many interesting details relating to steel. But he had found nothing of what he wanted, a reference to her Eberhard's invention, or anything that could give him a clue to the identity of the mysterious No. He had, perhaps, hardly hoped that he would. It was an off chance, and he had taken it. But he had not expected much result, except by sheer luck. He tested the drawers to make sure that he had relocked them securely. He knew Rupert Bateman's powers of minute observation and glanced round the room to make sure that he had left no incriminating trace of his presence. That's that, he muttered to himself softly. Nothing there. Well, perhaps I'll have better luck tomorrow morning, if the girls only play up. He came out of the study, closing the door behind him and locking it. For a moment, he thought he heard a sound quite near him, but decided he had been mistaken. He felt his way noiselessly along the great hall. Just enough light came from the high vaulted windows to enable him to pick his way without stumbling into anything. Again he heard a soft sound. He heard it quite certainly this time, and without the possibility of making a mistake. He was not alone in the hall. Somebody else was there, moving as stealthily as he was. His heart beat suddenly very fast. With a sudden spring, he jumped to the electric switch and turned on the lights. The sudden glare made him blink, but he saw plainly enough. Not 4 feet away stood Rupert Bateman. "My goodness, Pongo," cried Jimmy. "You did give me a start, slinking about like that in the dark." "I heard a noise," explained Mr. Bateman severely. "I thought burglars had got in, and I came down to see." Jimmy looked thoughtfully at Mr. Bateman's rubber-soled feet. "You think of everything, Pongo," he said genially. "Even a lethal weapon." His eye rested on the bulge in the other's pocket. "It's as well to be armed. One never knows whom one may meet." "I'm glad you didn't shoot," said Jimmy. "I'm a bit tired of being shot at." "I might easily have done so," said Mr. Bateman. "It would be dead against the law if you did," said Jimmy. "You got to make quite sure of the beggar's housebreaking, before you potted him. You mustn't jump to conclusions. Otherwise, you'd have to explain why you shot a guest on a perfectly innocent errand like mine. By the way, what did you come down for?" "I was hungry," said Jimmy. "I rather fancied a dry biscuit." "There are some biscuits in a tin by your bed," said Rupert Bateman. He was staring at Jimmy very intently through his horn-rimmed spectacles. That's where the staff work has gone wrong, old boy. There's a tin there with biscuits for starving visitors on it. But when the starving visitor opened it, nothing inside. So I just toddled down to the dining room." And with a sweet, ingenuous smile, Jimmy produced from his dressing gown pocket a handful of biscuits. There was a moment's pause. "And now I think I'll toddle back to bed," said Jimmy. "Night-night, Pongo." "Hello, Bill. You're looking for Lomax, I suppose? Look here, if you want to do a good turn, hurry into the drawing room and tell him the cabinet have called an immediate meeting, or get him away somehow. It's really not fair to let the poor devil make an ass of himself, all for some silly prank." "I've not come for Cotters," said Bill. "Didn't know he was here. It's Bundle I want to see. Is she anywhere about?" "You can't see her," said Lord Caterham. "Not just now, at any rate. George is with her." "Well, what does it matter?" "I think it does rather," said Lord Caterham. "He's probably spluttering horribly at this minute, and we mustn't do anything to make it worse for him." "But what is he saying?" "Heaven knows," said Lord Caterham. "A lot of damn nonsense, anyway. Never say too much. That was always my motto. Grab the girl's hand and let events take their course." Bill stared at him. "But look here, sir. I'm in a hurry. I must talk to Bundle. Well, I don't suppose you'll have to wait long. I must confess I'm rather glad to have you here with me. I suppose Lomax will insist on coming back and talking to me when it's all over." "When what's all over? What is Lomax supposed to be doing?" "Hush," said Lord Caterham. "He's proposing." "Proposing? Proposing what?" "Marriage, to Bundle. Don't ask me why. I suppose he's come to what they call the dangerous age. I can't explain it any other way. Proposing to Bundle? The dirty swine. At his age." Bill's face grew crimson. "He says he's in the prime of life," said Lord Caterham cautiously. "He? Why, he's decrepit, senile." Bill positively choked. "Not at all," said Lord Caterham coldly. "He's 5 years younger than I am. Of all the damned cheek. Cotters and Bundle. A girl like Bundle. You oughtn't to have allowed it." "I never interfere," said Lord Caterham. "You ought to have told him what you thought of him." "He's in the billiard room, I think," said Socks. "I'll fetch him." She went off, but had hardly gone a minute when Rupert Bateman appeared upon the scene with the harassed and serious air usual to him. "Yes, Lady Coote? Thesiger said you were asking for me." "How do you do, Lady Eileen?" He broke off to greet the two girls, and Lorraine immediately took the field. "Oh, Mr. Bateman, I've been wanting to see you. Wasn't it you who was telling me what to do for a dog when he is continually getting sore paws?" The secretary shook his head. "It must have been someone else, Miss Wade. Though, as a matter of fact, I do happen to know—" "What a wonderful man you are," interrupted Lorraine. "You know about everything. One should keep abreast of modern knowledge," said Mr. Bateman seriously. "Now about your dog's paws." Terence O'Rourke murmured sotto voce to Bundle. "'Tis a man like that writes all those little paragraphs in the weekly papers. It is not generally known that to keep a brass fender uniformly bright, etc. The Dorper beetle is one of the most interesting characters in the insect world. The marriage customs of the Fingalese Indians, and so on. General information, in fact. And what more horrible 2 words could you have?" said Mr. O'Rourke, and added piously, "Thank the heavens above, I'm an educated man, and know nothing whatever upon any subject at all." "I see you've got clock golf here," said Bundle to Lady Coote. "I'll take you on at it." "Lady Eileen," said O'Rourke. "Let's challenge those two," said Bundle. "Lorraine, Mr. O'Rourke, I want to take you and Mr. Bateman on at clock golf." "Do play, Mr. Bateman," said Lady Coote, as the secretary showed a momentary hesitation. "I'm sure Sir Oswald doesn't want you." The 4 went out on the lawn. "Very cleverly managed." "What?" whispered Bundle to Lorraine. "Congratulations on our girlish tact." The round ended just before 1 o'clock. Victory going to Bateman and Lorraine. "But I think you'll agree with me, partner," said Mr. O'Rourke, "that we played a more sporting game." He lagged a little behind with Bundle. "Old Pongo's a cautious player. He takes no risks. Now, with me it's neck or nothing, and a fine motto through life. Don't you agree, Lady Eileen?" "Hasn't it ever landed you in trouble?" asked Bundle, laughing. "To be sure it has, millions of times, but I'm still going strong. Sure, it'll take the hangman's noose to defeat Terence O'Rourke." Just then Jimmy Thesiger strolled round the corner of the house. "Bundle, by all that's wonderful," he exclaimed. "You've missed competing in the autumn meeting," said O'Rourke. "I'd gone for a stroll," said Jimmy. "Where did these girls drop from?" "We came on our flat feet," said Bundle. "The Hispano let us down," and she narrated the circumstances of the breakdown. Jimmy listened with sympathetic attention. "Hard luck," he vouchsafed. "If it's going to take some time, I'll run you back in my car after lunch." A gong sounded at that moment, and they all went in. Bundle observed Jimmy covertly. She thought she had noticed an unusual note of exultance in his voice. She had the feeling that things had gone well. After lunch, they took a polite leave of Lady Coote, and Jimmy volunteered to run them down to the garage in his car. As soon as they had started, the same word burst simultaneously from both girls' lips. "Well." Jimmy chose to be provoking. "Well." "Oh, pretty hearty, thanks. Slight indigestion owing to overindulgence in dry biscuits." "But what has happened?" "I tell you, devotion to the cause made me eat too many dry biscuits." "But did our hero flinch?" "No, he did not." "Oh, Jimmy," said Lorraine reproachfully, and he softened. "What do you really want to know?" "Oh, everything. Didn't we do it well? I mean, the way we kept Pongo and Terence O'Rourke in play." "I congratulate you on the handling of Pongo. O'Rourke was probably a sitter, but Pongo is made of other stuff. There's only one word for that lad. It was in the Sunday news bag crossword last week. Word of 10 letters meaning everywhere at once. Ubiquitous. That describes Pongo down to the ground. You can't go anywhere without running into him. And the worst of it is you never hear him coming. You think he's dangerous? Dangerous? Of course he's not dangerous. Fancy Pongo being dangerous. He's an ass. But as I said just now, he's a ubiquitous ass. He doesn't even seem to need sleep like ordinary mortals. In fact, to put it bluntly, the fellow's a damn nuisance. And, in a somewhat aggrieved manner, Jimmy described the events of the previous evening. Bundle was not very sympathetic. "I don't know what you think you're doing anyway, mooching round here." "No, 7, said Jimmy crisply. "That's what I'm after. And you think you'll find him in this house?" "I thought I might find a clue." "And you didn't?" "Not last night, no. But this morning," said Lorraine, breaking in suddenly. "Jimmy, you did find something this morning. I can see it by your face. Well, I don't know if it is anything, but during the course of my stroll, which stroll didn't take you far from the house, I imagine. Strangely enough, it didn't. Round trip in the interior, we might call it. Well, as I say, I don't know whether there's anything in it or not. But I found this." With the celerity of a conjurer, he produced a small bottle and tossed it over to the girls. It was half full of a white powder. "What do you think it is?" asked Bundle. A white crystalline powder. That's what it is, said Jimmy. And to any reader of detective fiction, those words are both familiar and suggestive. Of course, if it turns out to be a new kind of patent tooth powder, I shall be chagrined and annoyed. A white crystalline powder. That's what it is, said Jimmy. And to any reader of detective fiction, those words are both familiar and suggestive. Of course, if it turns out to be a new kind of patent tooth powder, I shall be chagrined and annoyed. Where did you find it? Asked Bundle sharply. Ah, said Jimmy. That's my secret. And from that point, he would not budge in spite of cajolery and insult. Here we are at the garage, he said. Let's hope the high-mettled Hispano has not been subjected to any indignities. The gentleman at the garage presented a bill for 5 shillings and made a few vague remarks about loose nuts. Bundle paid him with a sweet smile. It's nice to know we all get money for nothing sometimes, she murmured to Jimmy. The three stood together in the road, silent for the moment as they each pondered the situation. I know, said Bundle suddenly. Know what? Something I meant to ask you, and nearly forgot. Do you remember that glove that Superintendent Battle found? The half-burnt one? Yes. Didn't you say that he tried it on your hand? Yes, it was a shade big. That fits in with the idea of its being a big, hefty man who wore it. That's not at all what I'm bothering about. Never mind the size of it. George and Sir Oswald were both there too, weren't they? Yes, he could have given it to either of them to fit on. Yes, of course, but he didn't. He chose you. Jimmy, don't you see what that means? Mr. Thesiger stared at her. I'm sorry, Bundle. Possibly the jolly old brain isn't functioning as well as usual, but I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. Don't you see, Lorraine? Lorraine looked at her curiously, but shook her head. Does it mean anything in particular? Of course it does. Don't you see? Jimmy had his right hand in a sling. By Jove, Bundle, said Jimmy slowly. It was rather odd now I come to think of it. It's being a left-hand glove, I mean. Battle never said anything. He wasn't going to draw attention to it. By trying on you, it might pass without notice being drawn to it. And he talked about the size, just to put everybody off. But surely it must mean that the man who shot at you held the pistol in his left hand. So we got to look for a left-handed man, said Lorraine thoughtfully. Yes, and I'll tell you another thing. That was what Battle was doing looking through the golf clubs. He was looking for a left-handed man's. By Jove, said Jimmy suddenly. What is it? Well, I don't suppose there's anything in it, but it's rather curious. He retailed the conversation at tea the day before. So Sir Oswald Coote is ambidextrous, said Bundle. Yes, and I remember now on that night at Chimneys, the night Jerry Way died, I was watching the bridge and thinking idly how awkwardly someone was dealing, and then realizing that it was because they were dealing with the left hand. Of course, it must have been Sir Oswald. They all three looked at each other. Lorraine shook her head. A man like Sir Oswald Coote. It's impossible. What could he have to gain by it? It seems absurd, said Jimmy. And yet no. Seven has his own ways of working, quoted Bundle softly. Supposing this is the way Sir Oswald has really made his fortune, but why stage all that comedy at the Abbey when he'd had the formula at his own works? There might be ways of explaining that, said Lorraine. The same line of argument you used about Mr. O'Rourke. Suspicion had to be diverted from him and placed in another quarter. Bundle nodded eagerly. It all fits in. Suspicion is to fall on Bower and the Countess. Who on earth would ever dream of suspecting Sir Oswald Coote? I wonder if Battle does, said Jimmy slowly. Some chord of memory vibrated in Bundle's mind. Superintendent Battle plucking an ivy leaf off the millionaire's coat. Had Battle suspected all the time? Mr. Lomax is here, my lord. Lord Caterham started violently, for absorbing the intricacies of what not to do with the left wrist, he had not heard the butler approach over the soft turf. He looked at Treadwell more in sorrow than in anger. I told you at breakfast, Treadwell, that I should be particularly engaged this morning. Yes, my lord, but go and tell Mr. Lomax that you have made a mistake, that I am out in the village, that I am laid up with the gout, or if all else fails, that I am dead. Mr. Lomax, my lord, has already caught sight of your lordship when driving up the drive. Lord Caterham sighed deeply. He would. Very well, Treadwell, I am coming. In a manner highly characteristic, Lord Caterham was always most genial when his feelings were in reality the reverse. He greeted George now with a heartiness quite unparalleled. My dear fellow, delighted to see you, absolutely delighted. Sit down, have a drink. Well, this is splendid. And having pushed George into a large armchair, he sat down opposite him and blinked nervously. "I wanted to see you very particularly," said George. "Oh," said Lord Caterham faintly, and his heart sank, whilst his mind raced actively over all the dread possibilities that might lie behind that simple phrase. "Very particularly," said George with heavy emphasis. Lord Caterham's heart sank lower than ever. He felt that something was coming worse than anything he had yet thought of. "Yes," he said, with a courageous attempt at nonchalance. "Is Eileen at home?" Lord Caterham felt reprieved, but slightly surprised. "Yes, yes," he said. "Bundle's here. Got that friend of hers with her, the little Wade girl. Very nice girl. Very nice girl. Going to be quite a good golfer one day. Nice, easy swing." He was chatting garrulously on when George interrupted with ruthlessness. "I am glad Eileen is at home. Perhaps I might have an interview with her presently." "Certainly, my dear fellow, certainly." Lord Caterham still felt very surprised, but was still enjoying the sensation of reprieve. "If it doesn't bore you." "Nothing could bore me less," said George. "I think, Caterham, if I may say so, that you hardly appreciate the fact that Eileen is grown up. She is no longer a child. She is a woman. And, if I may say so, a very charming and talented woman. The man who succeeds in winning her love will be extremely lucky. I repeat it, extremely lucky." "Oh, I dare say," said Lord Caterham. "But she's very restless, you know, never content to be in one place for more than 2 minutes together. However, I dare say young fellows don't mind that nowadays." "You mean that she's not content to stagnate?" "Eileen has brains, Caterham. She is ambitious. She interests herself in the questions of the day, and brings her fresh and vivid young intellect to bear upon them." Lord Caterham stared at him. It occurred to him that what was so often referred to as the strain of modern life had begun to tell upon George. Certainly his description of Bundle seemed to Lord Caterham ludicrously unlike. "Are you sure you're feeling quite well?" he asked anxiously. George waved the inquiry aside impatiently. "Perhaps, Caterham, you begin to have some inkling of my purpose in visiting you this morning. I am not a man to undertake fresh responsibilities lightly. I have a proper sense, I hope, of what is due to the position I hold. I have given this matter my deep and earnest consideration. Marriage, especially at my age, is not to be undertaken without full consideration. Equality of birth, similarity of tastes, general suitability, and the same religious creed. All these things are necessary, and the pros and cons have to be weighed and considered. I can, I think, offer my wife a position in society that is not to be despised. Eileen will grace that position admirably. By birth and breeding, she is fitted for it, and her brains and her acute political sense cannot but further my career to our mutual advantage. I am aware, Caterham, that there is some disparity in years, but I can assure you that I feel full of vigor in my prime. The balance of years should be on the husband's side, and Eileen has serious tastes. An older man will suit her better than some young jackanapes without either experience or savoir-faire. I can assure you, my dear Caterham, that I will cherish her exquisite youth. I will cherish it. It will be appreciated. To watch the exquisite flower of her mind unfolding. What a privilege! And to think that I never realized. He shook his head deprecatingly, and Lord Caterham, finding his voice with difficulty, said blankly, "Do I understand you to mean? Ah, my dear fellow, you can't want to marry Bundle. You are surprised. I suppose to you it seems sudden. I have your permission, then, to speak to her?" "Oh, yes," said Lord Caterham. "If it's permission you want, of course you can. But you know, Lomax, I really shouldn't if I were you. Just go home and think it over like a good fellow. Count 20, all that sort of thing. Always a pity to propose and make a fool of yourself. I dare say you mean your advice kindly, Caterham, though I must confess that you put it somewhat strangely. But I have made up my mind to put my fortune to the test. I may see Eileen." "Oh, it's nothing to do with me," said Lord Caterham hastily. "Eileen settles her own affairs. If she came to me tomorrow and said she was going to marry the chauffeur, I shouldn't make any objections. It's the only way nowadays. Your children can make life damned unpleasant if you don't give in to them in every way. I say to Bundle, do as you like, but don't worry me, and really on the whole, she's amazingly good about it." George stood up, intent upon his purpose. "Where shall I find her?" "Well, really, I don't know," said Lord Caterham vaguely. "She might be anywhere. As I told you just now, She's never in the same place for 2 minutes together. No repose. And I suppose Miss Wade will be with her? It seems to me, Caterham, that the best plan would be for you to ring the bell and ask your butler to find her, saying that I wish to speak to her for a few minutes. Lord Caterham pressed the bell obediently. "Oh, Treadwell," he said when the bell was answered. "Just find her ladyship, will you? Tell her Mr. Lomax is anxious to speak to her in the drawing-room." "Yes, my lord." Treadwell withdrew. George seized Lord Caterham's hand and wrung it warmly, much to the latter's discomfort. "1,000 thanks," he said. "I hope soon to bring you good news." He hastened from the room. "Well," said Lord Caterham. "Well," and after a long pause, "what has Bundle been up to?" The door opened again. "Mr. Eversley, my lord." As Bill hastened in, Lord Caterham caught his hand and spoke earnestly. "Hello, Bill. You're looking for Lomax, I suppose? Look here, if you want to do a good turn, hurry into the drawing-room and tell him the cabinet have called an immediate meeting, or get him away somehow. It's really not fair to let the poor devil make an ass of himself, all for some silly prank." "I've not come for Cotters," said Bill. "Didn't know he was here. It's Bundle I want to see. Is she anywhere about?" "You can't see her," said Lord Caterham. "Not just now, at any rate. George is with her." "Well, what does it matter?" "I think it does rather," said Lord Caterham. "He's probably spluttering horribly at this minute, and we mustn't do anything to make it worse for him." "But what is he saying?" "Heaven knows," said Lord Caterham. "A lot of damn nonsense, anyway. Never say too much. That was always my motto. Grab the girl's hand and let events take their course." Bill stared at him. "But look here, sir. I'm in a hurry. I must talk to Bundle. Well, I don't suppose you'll have to wait long. I must confess I'm rather glad to have you here with me. I suppose Lomax will insist on coming back and talking to me when it's all over." "When what's all over? What is Lomax supposed to be doing?" "Hush," said Lord Caterham. "He's proposing." "Proposing? Proposing what?" "Marriage. To Bundle. Don't ask me why. I suppose he's come to what they call the dangerous age. I can't explain it any other way. Proposing to Bundle? The dirty swine. At his age." Bill's face grew crimson. "He says he's in the prime of life," said Lord Caterham cautiously. "He? Why, he's decrepit, senile." Bill positively choked. "Not at all," said Lord Caterham coldly. "He's 5 years younger than I am. Of all the damned cheek. Cotters and Bundle. A girl like Bundle. You oughtn't to have allowed it." "I never interfere," said Lord Caterham. "You ought to have told him what you thought of him." "Unfortunately, modern civilization rules that out," said Lord Caterham regretfully. "In the Stone Age now. But, dear me, I suppose even then I shouldn't be able to do it, being a small man. Bundle. Why, I've never dared to ask Bundle to marry me, because I knew she'd only laugh. And George, a disgusting windbag, an unscrupulous, hypocritical old hot-air merchant, a foul, poisonous self-advertiser. Go on," said Lord Caterham. "I'm enjoying this." "My God," said Bill simply and with feeling. "Look here, I must be off." No, don't go. I'd much rather you stayed. Besides, you want to see Bundle." "Not now. This has driven everything else out of my head. You don't know where Jimmy Thesiger is by any chance?" "I believe he was staying with the Coots." "Is he there still?" "I think he went back to town yesterday. Bundle and Lorraine were over there on Saturday. If you'll only wait." But Bill shook his head energetically and rushed from the room. Lord Caterham tiptoed out into the hall, seized a hat, and made a hurried exit by the side door. In the distance he observed Bill streaking down the drive in his car. That young man will have an accident, he thought. Bill, however, reached London without any mischance, and proceeded to park his car in street James's Square. Then he sought out Jimmy Thesiger's rooms. Jimmy was at home. "Hello, Bill. I say, what's the matter? You don't look your usual bright little self." "I'm worried," said Bill. "I was worried anyway. And then something else turned up and gave me a jolt." "Oh," said Jimmy. "How lucid. What's it all about? Can I do anything?" Bill did not reply. He sat staring at the carpet and looking so puzzled and uncomfortable that Jimmy felt his curiosity aroused. "Has anything very extraordinary occurred, William?" he asked gently. "Something damned odd. I can't make head or tail of it. The Seven Dials business." "Yes, the Seven Dials business. I got a letter this morning." "A letter? What sort of a letter?" "A letter from Ronnie Devereux's executors." "Good Lord. After all this time." "It seems he left instructions. If he was to die suddenly, a certain sealed envelope was to be sent to me exactly a fortnight after his death." "And they've sent it to you?" "Yes." "You've opened it?" "Yes." "Well, what did it say?" Bill turned a glance upon him, such a strange and uncertain one that Jimmy was startled. "Look here," he said. "Pull yourself together, old man. It seems to have knocked the wind out of you, whatever it is. Have a drink." He poured out a stiff whiskey and soda and brought it over to Bill, who took it obediently. His face still bore the same dazed expression. "It's what's in the letter," he said. "I simply can't believe it, that's all." "Oh, nonsense," said Jimmy. "You must get into the habit of believing 6 impossible things before breakfast. I do it regularly. Now, then, let's hear all about it." "Wait a minute." He went outside. "Stevens." "Yes, sir." "Just go out and get me some cigarettes, will you?" "I've run out." "Very good, sir." Jimmy waited till he heard the front door close. Then he came back into the sitting room. Bill was just in the act of setting down his empty glass. He looked better, more purposeful, and more master of himself. "Now then," said Jimmy, "I've sent Stevens out so that we can't be overheard. Are you going to tell me all about it? It's so incredible. Then it's sure to be true. Come on out with it." Bill drew a deep breath. "I will. I'll tell you everything." Lorraine, playing with a small and delectable puppy, was somewhat surprised when Bundle rejoined her after an absence of 20 minutes, in a breathless state and with an indescribable expression on her face. "Hoof," said Bundle, sinking onto a garden seat. "Hoof, what's the matter?" asked Lorraine, looking at her curiously. "George is the matter, George Lomax." "What's he been doing?" "Proposing to me. It was awful. He spluttered and he stuttered, but he would go through with it. He must have learned it out of a book, I think. There was no stopping him. Oh, how I hate men who splutter." And, unfortunately, I didn't know the reply. "You must have known what you wanted to do. Naturally, I'm not going to marry an apoplectic idiot like George. What I mean is, I didn't know the correct reply from the book of etiquette. I could only just say flatly, 'No, I won't.' What I ought to have said was something about being very sensible of the honor he had done me, and so on and so on. But I got so rattled that in the end, I jumped out of the window and bolted. Really, Bundle, that's not like you." "Well, I never dreamt of such a thing happening. George, who I always thought hated me, and he did too. What a fatal thing it is to pretend to take an interest in a man's pet subject. You should have heard the drivel George talked about my girlish mind and the pleasure it would be to form it. My mind. If George knew 1/4 of what was going on in my mind, he'd faint with horror." Lorraine laughed. She couldn't help it. "Oh, I know it's my own fault. I let myself in for this. There's Father dodging round that rhododendron." "Hello, Father." Lord Caterham approached with a hangdog expression. "Lomax gone," he remarked with somewhat forced geniality. "A nice business you let me in for," said Bundle. "George told me he had your full approval and sanction." "Well," said Lord Caterham, "what did you expect me to say? As a matter of fact, I didn't say that at all, or anything like it." "I didn't really think so," said Bundle. "I assumed that George had talked you into a corner and reduced you to such a state that you could only nod your head feebly. That's very much what happened." "How did he take it?" "Badly." "I didn't wait to see," said Bundle. "I'm afraid I was rather abrupt." "Oh well," said Lord Caterham, "perhaps that was the best way. Thank goodness in the future Lomax won't always be running over, as he has been in the habit of doing, worrying me about things. Everything is for the best, they say. Have you seen my jigger anywhere? A mashy shot or two would steady my nerves, I think," said Bundle. "I'll take you on for 6pence, Lorraine." An hour passed very peacefully. The three returned to the house in a harmonious spirit. A note lay on the hall table. "Mr. Lomax left that for you, my lord," explained Treadwell. "He was much disappointed to find that you had gone out." Lord Caterham tore it open. He uttered a pained ejaculation and turned upon his daughter. Treadwell had retired. "Really, Bundle, you might have made yourself clear, I think." "What do you mean?" "Well, read this." Bundle took it and read. "My dear Caterham, I am sorry not to have had a word with you. I thought I made it clear that I wanted to see you again after my interview with Eileen. She, dear child, was evidently quite unaware of the feelings I entertained towards her. She was, I am afraid, much startled. I have no wish to hurry her in any way. Her girlish confusion was very charming, and I entertain an even higher regard for her, as I much appreciate her maidenly reserve. I must give her time to become accustomed to the idea. Her very confusion shows that she is not wholly indifferent to me, and I have no doubts of my ultimate success. Believe me, dear Caterham, your sincere friend, George Lomax." "Well," said Bundle. "Well, I'm damned." Words failed her. "The man must be mad," said Lord Caterham. "No one could write those things about you, Bundle, unless they were slightly touched in the head. Poor chap, poor chap. But what persistence! I don't wonder he got into the cabinet. It would serve him right if you did marry him, Bundle. The telephone rang, and Bundle moved forward to answer it. In another minute, George and his proposal were forgotten, and she was beckoning eagerly to Lorraine. Lord Caterham went off to his own sanctum. "It's Jimmy," said Bundle, "and he's tremendously excited about something." "Thank goodness I've caught you," said Jimmy's voice. "There's no time to be lost. Lorraine's there, too." "Yes, she's here." "Well, look here, I haven't got time to explain everything. In fact, I can't through the telephone. But Bill has been round to see me with the most amazing story you ever heard. If it's true, well, if it's true, it's the biggest scoop of the century. Now look here, this is what you got to do. Come up to town at once, both of you. Garage the car somewhere and go straight to the Seven Dials Club. Do you think that when you get there you can get rid of that footman fellow?" "Alfred, rather. You leave that to me." "Good. Get rid of him and watch out for me and Bill. Don't show yourselves at the windows, but when we drive up, let us in at once." "See? Yes, that's all right then." "Oh, Bundle, don't let on that you're going up to town. Make some other excuse. Say you're taking Lorraine home. How would that do?" "Splendidly. I say, Jimmy, I'm thrilled to the core. And you might as well make your will before starting. Better and better. But I wish I knew what it was all about. You will as soon as we meet. I'll tell you this much. We're going to get ready to hell of a surprise for No. 7. Bundle hung up the receiver and turned to Lorraine, giving her a rapid resume of the conversation. Lorraine rushed upstairs and hurriedly packed her suitcase, and Bundle put her head round her father's door. "I'm taking Lorraine home." "Father, why?" "I had no idea she was going today." "They want her back," said Bundle vaguely. "Just telephone. Bye-bye." "Here, Bundle, wait a minute. When will you be home?" "Don't know. Expect me when you see me." With this unceremonious exit, Bundle rushed upstairs, put a hat on, slipped into her fur coat, and was ready to start. She had already ordered the Hispano to be brought round. The journey to London was without adventure, except such as was habitually provided by Bundle's driving. They left the car at a garage and proceeded direct to the Seven Dials Club. The door was opened to them by Alfred. Bundle pushed her way past him without ceremony, and Lorraine followed. "Shut the door." "Alfred," said Bundle. "Now, I've come here especially to do you a good turn. The police are after you." "Oh, my lady." Alfred turned chalk white. "I've come to warn you because you did me a good turn the other night," went on Bundle rapidly. "There's a warrant out for Mr. Moskarovsky, and the best thing you can do is to clear out of here as quick as you can. If you're not found here, they won't bother about you. Here's £10 to help you get away somewhere." In 3 minutes' time, an incoherent and badly scared Alfred had left 14 Hunstanton Street with only one idea in his head: never to return. "Well, I've managed that all right," said Bundle with satisfaction. "Was it necessary to be so, well, drastic?" Lorraine demurred. "It's safer," said Bundle. "I don't know what Jimmy and Bill are up to, but we don't want Alfred coming back in the middle of it and wrecking everything. Hello, here they are." Well, they haven't wasted much time, probably watching round the corner to see Alfred leave. "Go down and open the door to them, Lorraine." Lorraine obeyed. Jimmy Thesiger alighted from the driving seat. "You stop there for a moment, Bill," he said. "Blow the horn if you think anyone's watching the place." He ran up the steps and banged the door behind him. He looked pink and elated. "Hello, Bundle, there you are. Now, then we got to get down to it. Where's the key of the room you got in the last time?" "It was one of the downstairs keys." "We'd better bring the lot up." "Right you are, but be quick. Time's short." The key was easily found. The baize-lined door swung back, and the three entered. The room was exactly as Bundle had seen it before, with the 7 chairs grouped round the table. Jimmy surveyed it for a minute or two in silence. Then his eye went to the 2 cupboards. "Which is the cupboard you hid in, Bundle?" "This one." Jimmy went to it and flung the door open. The same collection of miscellaneous glassware covered the shelves. "We shall have to shift all this stuff," he murmured. "Run down and get Bill, Lorraine. There's no need for him to keep watch outside any longer." Lorraine ran off. "What are you going to do?" inquired Bundle impatiently. Jimmy was down on his knees, trying to peer through the crack of the other cupboard door. "Wait till Bill comes, and you shall hear the whole story. This is his staff work, and a jolly, creditable bit of work it is. Hello, what's Lorraine flying up the stairs for as though she got a mad bull after her?" Lorraine was indeed racing up the stairs as fast as she could. She burst in upon them with an ashen face and terror in her eyes. "Bill, Bill, oh, Bundle, Bill." "What about Bill?" Jimmy caught her by the shoulder. "For God's sake, Lorraine, what's happened?" Lorraine was still gasping. "Bill, I think he's dead. He's in the car still, but he doesn't move or speak. I'm sure he's dead. Jimmy muttered an oath and sprang for the stairs, Bundle behind him, her heart pounding unevenly and an awful feeling of desolation spreading over her. Bill dead? Oh no. Oh no. Not that. Please God. Not that. Together she and Jimmy reached the car, Lorraine behind them. Jimmy peered under the hood. Bill was sitting as he had left him, leaning back. But his eyes were closed, and Jimmy's pull at his arm brought no response. I can't understand it, muttered Jimmy. But he's not dead. Cheer up, Bundle. Look here, we gotta get him into the house. Let's pray to goodness no policeman comes along. If anybody says anything, he's our sick friend we're helping into the house. Between the three of them, they got Bill into the house without much difficulty, and without attracting much attention, save for an unshaven gentleman, who said sympathetically, "Gentlemen's at a couple, I she," and nodded his head sapiently. "Into the little back room downstairs," said Jimmy. "There's a sofa there." They got him safely onto the sofa, and Bundle knelt down beside him and took his limp wrist in her hand. "His pulse is beating," she said. "What is the matter with him?" "He was all right when I left him just now," said Jimmy. "I wonder if someone's managed to inject some stuff into him. It would be easily done, just a prick. The man might have been asking him the time. There's only one thing for it. I must get a doctor at once. You stay here and look after him." He hurried to the door, then paused. "Look here, don't be scared, either of you. But I'd better leave you my revolver. I mean, just in case. I'll be back just as soon as I possibly can." He laid the revolver down on the little table by the sofa, then hurried off. They heard the front door bang behind him. The house seemed very still now. The two girls stayed motionless by Bill. Bundle still kept her finger on his pulse. It seemed to be beating very fast and irregularly. "I wish we could do something," she whispered to Lorraine. "This is awful." Lorraine nodded. "I know. It seems ages since Jimmy went, and yet it's only a minute and a half." "I keep hearing things," said Bundle. "Footsteps and boards creaking upstairs. And yet I know it's only imagination." "I wonder why Jimmy left us the revolver," said Lorraine. "There can't really be danger." "If they could get Bill," said Bundle and stopped. Lorraine shivered. "I know, but we're in the house. Nobody can get in without our hearing them. And anyway, we've got the revolver." Bundle turned her attention back again to Bill. "I wish I knew what to do." "Hot coffee. You give them that sometimes." "I've got some smelling salts in my bag," said Lorraine. "And some brandy. Where is it?" "Oh, I must have left it in the room upstairs." "I'll get it," said Bundle. "They might do some good." She sped quickly up the stairs, across the gaming room, and through the open door into the meeting place. Lorraine's bag was lying on the table. As Bundle stretched out her hand to take it, she heard a noise from behind her. Hidden behind the door, a man stood ready with a sandbag in his hand. Before Bundle could turn her head, he had struck. With a faint moan, Bundle slipped down, an unconscious heap, upon the floor. And now, the end is nearly upon us. The mystery that once seemed impossible to untangle is finally coming together. But there's still one last twist waiting in the shadows. Thank you for listening. If you've been enjoying the journey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay tuned for the final part. The truth is just around the corner. See you soon.